Hello everybody and welcome. It is my great pleasure to start off today's Twitter space, which is organized by Switzerland Global Enterprise in partnership with Home of Blockchain. Today's host, Switzerland Global Enterprise, is the Swiss official organization for export and investment promotion, with offices located in 30 countries. If you are evaluating Switzerland as a business location and would like to be provided with more information, reach out to us and we'll be happy to support you. Now, a practical note, please be aware that today's discussion will be recorded and that you can participate in it by dropping questions in the chat. The recording will be made available on our platforms, whose links we will also share in the chat before the end of the session. And now, without further ado, I'd like to warmly welcome the panelists and to pass the word to our moderator, Paula Valencia from Home of Blockchain.
Thank you, Valeria. My name is, as Valeria mentioned, is Paula Valencia, and I'm the director of the Home of Blockchain. We are a non-profit public-private organization, and we promote the Swiss digital assets blockchain ecosystem worldwide via publications, events like at the House of Switzerland during the World Economic Forum in Davos, this June the Point Zero Forum in Zurich, in Singapore during the FinTech Festival, just to mention some. And we do this also together with Switzerland Global Enterprise, and there's business hubs worldwide, like today. And we focus on showcase applications of this technology on digitization of financial assets, industry applications, and blockchain for good, like projects similar to the ones that the United Nations Refugee Agency is doing. So welcome to our Twitter space on Web3 and Metaverse blockchain. I'm thrilled to share this space with our great guests to discuss the exciting and ever-evolving world of decentralized technologies and what makes Switzerland attractive for this industry. Today we'll be exploring real use cases, latest trends, innovations, and opportunities from this space from Switzerland to the world. So even if you're a seasoned blockchain expert or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Web3, we hope you enjoy this lively and informative conversation. And I mean, many of you have heard that the Web3 Metaverse had to do with bored apes, NFT images, VR Googles, but there is more. I mean, Web3 refers to the next evolution of the internet. Web 1 was basically on your desktop screen, not much interaction. Web 2 is on your mobile apps, more interactive. And Web 3 is where decentralized technologies will be used or are used to create a more open, transparent, and user-centric web, peer-to-peer interactions without the need of intermediaries. And on the other hand, the Metaverse does refer to a virtual world which is built on the top of the internet, like Minecraft, and you can do other type of activities as gaming, socializing, and commerce. And while blockchain technology is not mandatory, it is recommended to implement in many cases where trust and security are important, and as it can provide benefits like immutability, transparency. However, the specific use case and requirements of each project should be evaluated. So now I think we are ready to go. Now I just wanted to mention this so we don't think that we just talk about images, and basically today we will explore real cases. I'm super excited with all our guests. So maybe we go through quickly. Let's start maybe with ladies first. I'm very happy to have Melissa Song. Melissa, she comes from traditional finance, but I would like her to give a quick intro. And she is the head of growth for two major companies, Shiku Metaverse and Yumi NFT Marketplace, where she's in charge of driving growth and success in an exciting new world for the Metaverse. So, Melissa, if you could just give me a quick background about the company, yourself, how you formed this area, and what is the Shiku Metaverse?
Sure. Thank you very much, Paula. And it is great to be here and have this conversation with everyone. My name is Melissa. I like to call myself as a metaverse builder. So as Paula mentioned, I'm currently leading the business development and growth for Shiku Metaverse, which is the first Swiss metaverse foundation. Shiku is actually headquartered in Neuchâtel, but we have a very diversified team. And then we have two offices, one in Zurich and one in Shanghai. apart from Shiku, I also work very closely with our strategic partner, Yumi NFT Marketplace, same in the business development and growth area. And a little bit about myself. So I got into crypto and blockchain in 2020, coming from a financial services industry. Before I come to Switzerland, I was in Hong Kong for 8 years. I think that's a little bit about the Shiku and then about myself.
Thank you very much. Just I have seen that you have like even a metaversity. What makes it special, the Shiku Metaverse? If you could tell me just a couple.
Yeah, sure. So in Shiku, we are really trying to build a open, decentralized, and full-feature metaverse, and then make it as a platform that provides this platform to any people in the world to be able to use the metaverse to facilitate them communication, collaboration, and connection. So you are right. If you go to our website, you will see that one of the first few architecture or building or use cases that we're building on Shiku, including something called Metaversity. So what does it mean? So we collaborated with some of the top university in the world with the professors in this university to help them use Metaverse as another way of education and communication. And that's what we envision, because Metaverse is not just for game and not just for, marketing, but it can also be used for a very diversified and new way of education in the future.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. I can just imagine what would be to study astronomy or biology and the metaverse, like really get into the topic. That sounds very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, very good. Now that we're talking a little bit about education, one of our guests, I found out yesterday, which is fantastic, Takashi Oka. He is the CEO of Overlay. Hi, Take. Good day. Where are you now, currently?
I'm joining from Japan.
Well, good afternoon. Evening. Takeshi, I just found out yesterday that actually you are an alumnus of the University of Zurich Blockchain Center Summer School, this deep dive in blockchain, which is organized by Dr. Claudio Tesone. And just so that everybody knows, the University of Zurich has been ranked number 1 in Europe and third and for worldwide for second year in a row by the CoinDesk Best Universities for Blockchain in 2022. So I would like just to know how was like the education getting into this program, and how were you already involved into this area, this type of industry, or how come the idea, and why Switzerland, and basically a little bit about all these things.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me today, by the way. And so I actually was joined the University of Zurich Summer School like 2019. So it was just the beginning of COVID-19 as well. So actually I joined the class with the online tool. So I regret that cannot join with the offline school, but I met a lot of people from around the world, really, and everyone is get enthusiastic about blockchain. So they are trying to build their own project and they want to learn about something new related to crypto projects. So all of them have a really nice motivation. And I think that university curriculum was really great, because a lot of professional like lawyer and like company founders and accountants. So there are a lot of people who have a lot of backgrounds joining this event. So I got like very high motivation with this class. And finally, I started my own project in Switzerland as well. So thanks to Claudio Tesone and UZH Summerschool, this is my message. And so let me tell you about why we choose Switzerland. Can I
Excellent. Yes, please.
go? Yes.
Absolutely.
So and the reason why we choose Switzerland is actually very simple, because it's one of the few countries that is permanently neutral. And also because it's home to important institutions around the world like United Nations and BCBC and BCBS. And yes, of course, there are more reasons like the environment for crypto businesses, the regulatory and tax environment are really excellent. But I guess that everyone here today will speak about these topics. So I would like to talk about a different perspective from my side today. So from me, let me explain about why permanently neutral is a matter. Oh, as a crypto project startup, I guess most of us are eventually trying to form DAO. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So, so in short, DAO is a kind of entity on the internet, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which means there is no entry barriers. So there is no border like nationalities, age, gender. So whoever you are, like wherever you live, you can join DAO if you have the device that can connect to the internet. Do you know about DAO, by the way?
Yes, yes, the so-called DAOs.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes, please.
Yes, nice. And one more thing to add on DAO. DAO enables borderless coordination via blockchain protocol. So which means we can form cross-border organization around and accelerate global level coordination. So we can take our hands as a global citizen, not as like Japanese or American or blah, blah, blah. So, this is really cool thing, right? Because we can work with worldwide problem together on the internet. So this is the very good idea and innovative idea, I guess. But there is one challenge. So how we start DAO? This is the most important aspect, I think. So, for example, let's say I set up a corporation in Japan to operate a DAO. So in this case, the DAO is strongly bound by the Japanese law and must be affected by Japan's global condition. So if there is some conflict between Japan and other nations, so you cannot operate flat relations anymore in your DAO, right? And this really important to keep flat condition in your DAO to keep global level coordination. So that's why we need to start our project under the neutral way. And I think now that's why we choose Switzerland. And there is no other options indeed. Yep.
Very, very interesting. And yeah, I mean, Switzerland, as you mentioned, with all the different international organizations that have, like, especially on the side of Geneva, it sounds like definitely the great choose. You make a great selection, and this is very interesting to understand also how this neutrality affects even on in this metaverse virtual world. So thank you so much. I will get back to you, Takeshi, and again, thanks for sharing your experience also from the university. And I mean, I guess it was challenging with this COVID, definitely.
Yeah.
So, and I would like now to swap to Paul Meeusen. I think, am I saying your name correctly? I think you come from Belgium, right?
Yes, hello.
Good morning, Paul. Paul is the Vice President of Finance at DFINITY, which develops the Internet Computer, which is a public blockchain network enabling scalable, fast, and open Internet services. And it is created by independent data centers worldwide, running the Internet Computer Protocol, ICP. So, Paul, you have a very international career, also coming from traditional industries. Could you give a little background on it and why you jumped into this environment, and a little bit about what is this ICP or this Internet Computer?
Sure. I come from what we today would call classical or central finance, I guess, and one of the industry that is probably one of the most traditional one, reinsurance. So I worked for many years for Swiss reinsurance, and then about 6 years ago got involved in blockchain as with a group of other insurance companies. We started to use a blockchain technology to run insurance policies. So you can imagine, often for large contracts, there is a kind of consortium of parties who are involved in a large claim. Let's take an unfortunate event like the World Trade Center attack, for example. People may not always realize, but to settle such a claim, there's many, many different parties involved. These risks are too large that one single party can insure them, and then there's brokers, etc. So we founded the company, and for many of the same reasons that Takashi just mentioned, we also founded that company. It was called WEB3 here in Switzerland. In addition to the reasons that Takashi mentioned, we also found that it was here a good place to find talent, both engineering talent as well as financial markets talent. And then 2 years ago, I joined DFINITY because if I think back of that, and you mentioned scalability, even in insurance contracts settlement, where in the beginning we limited ourselves to just storing hashes on the blockchain or storing essential references, like, for example, an approved claim or a proof of signed contract. But the difficulty is if you really want to hold rich data, let's say a full audit or a picture of whatever is being insured, we all know, of course, that the blockchain has challenges or had challenges to hold large amounts of data. And that is at the genesis or at the heart of what the DFINITY Foundation, we're a Swiss-based foundation, started to research and engineer about 6 years ago. So DFINITY started in an office in Palo Alto and San Francisco in the US, as well as Zurich here, and has went live with its internet computer protocol in the summer of 21. And we believe we've really cracked the nut in terms of having the benefit of decentralization that we all agree on, but at the same time, making it possible to have scalable solutions that can hold a lot of data. And we refer to the protocol that we use as proof of useful work. And in simple terms, I would kind of describe that as the best of both worlds between proof of stake and proof of work. When I say best of it, we are achieving, we have a network of nodes that aggregate in subnets. So the computing is happening in a decentralized way, but we run a protocol such that the replication across all of these different nodes is running in a much more optimal and efficient way. And it allows us, for example, and what Melissa is and her team are developing, which is built on the internet computer, those things which require to effectively hold a lot of data. If you think about what we all do with NFTs, etc., that is actually one of the perfect applications which become possible if you have a protocol and a blockchain technology that is able to basically run smart contracts, hold the data, and no longer relying on traditional cloud computing to store that data, when the blockchain would just have a reference or a hash to it. And I think, being an economist myself, I do relate to that very strongly, because if I think back of my many years in risk management and insurance, it is the effective proof of something like an insurance claim, for example, that is the essence of that business. And if you can have that traceability and not depending on a trusted source, if you have the full traceability end to end on your blockchain, I think that is really a breakthrough. And that's what we are working on at the DFINITY Foundation as one of the contributors to the so-called internet computer.
Very, very interesting. And I really like this example you did on the insurance, because yes, I mean, sometimes when things happen, as you mentioned, it's difficult to how to interpret. And I guess with blockchain, with smart contracts, the things can be triggered automatically because the conditions are clearly stated. So I think it has a lot of future for many different applications. This smart contract basically is a program. You get an input and you know what will be the output depending on the conditions. This is what I think. Yes, absolutely. And why is trust and protection of intellectual property so essential to the Swiss economy? I don't know the impact for you, how you see that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm a dual citizen, Belgian and Swiss. I have a Swiss passport for many years. I've lived here for 25 years now, and I was very intrigued and interested when I heard Takash speak. It sounds to music to my ears. My personal motivation, as well as a professional, to decide to stay and work in Switzerland was very much also inspired by what Takash was saying. And to your question, the one thing that I would add is, as I have learned the Swiss culture and the economy over the past 20 years and then read up on things, one of the things that really I learned to change my prejudice. If people look at Switzerland, they look at as if this country has always been rosy and happy and chocolate and bankers and a very wealthy country. But it's only when I started reading up myself a little bit that I realized that Switzerland 100 years ago was one of the poorest countries in the whole Europe. And then if you then try to trace back, why did this country that was one of the poorest of Europe, that does not have access to sea, that does not have any mineral resources, why did it manage to suddenly become suddenly over 100 years become what it is today? And I think the link to innovation, a couple of interesting things to me. The watch industry, for example, if you go back, we all find out that it has its roots to the perseverance and the craftsmanship of farmers who, in the winter, when they did not have anything else to do, and the Huguenots came from France into Switzerland, that was the winter occupation of farmers, and they diligently starting at home crafting the first watches, and the same with the textile industry in the eastern part of Switzerland. And so that craftsmanship, that perseverance, and that led to other large companies in the pharma industry, in the engineering, like ABB. I think people tend to forget that it did not just come for nothing. It's the result of a people and a country that have had hard work, Tüftlers, as we say in German, like keep going until your innovation is realized. Like a company like Sandoz is also the result of someone in a garage trying over and over until a medicine was found. And I think that is still, I feel, in the blood of many Swiss people who 2 generations back come themselves from farmers who have a very strong work ethic. And today, in the modern digital society, I think we find that, again, the grandchildren of those farmers may now go to ETH and be scientists and engineers. But I always say to people, you should not forget, this is what brought Switzerland to what it is today. It is not like we're all just the children of rich bankers and we got it for nothing. And so the innovation that is in the blood of the Swiss people, also by necessity, because if you have no natural resources, if you have no oil or diamonds under the ground, then you need to have your brain power that produces it. And that is in a nutshell for me what's at the heart of why Switzerland is so successful. And then, of course, over time, we had efficient financial markets, and we have a pharma industry, and the neutrality and the stability of our government is all very beneficial. I think it's this unique combination of all of these different factors that make this, honestly, what I think is a great country and economy to live in.
I absolutely agree in all your points. I'm also a dual citizen, and I also studied the history to pass my exam, and just because of curiosity to exactly this, what made Switzerland so special. And I also love to talk about this. And I think for us dual citizens, which have also become Swiss, and I think we have absorbed these values and we really cherish them, because look at you, I'm also doing my part. And yes, Switzerland has a very special story. And then, I mean, it's a combination of now responsible innovation, being open to share knowledge as well, and to bring knowledge, which I think it's also key of the success of. We are open to share. I mean, because I'm in contact with the business hubs, I see how they are reachable and to share what we have, help out other educational organizations to reach a level. It's not like we're trying to keep everything here secret. So I really like that. And yes, you say we have pragmatic authorities, brain power, legal certainty, collaborative corporations, and privacy culture.
Maybe the one thing that I would add, building on what Takashi was saying, I think the cooperative thinking is in the mindset of the Swiss, right? We all love to go to vote for referenda. Some of our largest companies like Migros are cooperatives. So to Takashi's point, when he talked about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, I think this comes natural to the Swiss people because we are used to be somehow involved in cooperatives. And that's another, I think, reason why thinking about these type of new organizations comes natural to Switzerland.
Absolutely, absolutely. We can continue with this conversation with everyone together, but let's pass now to Sanket Bhatia. He is the co-founder of ProDecipher in Switzerland. He is looking for transparency as a key to sustainable society and builds blockchain-powered tools for supply chain traceability. So, Sanket, I mean, we have been together recently in Stuttgart, so I know a little bit more and more about your company. But can you tell everyone what are you looking for and why you looked into blockchain for solutions for a sustainable future?
Yes, good morning, everybody here. Good afternoon, good evening. Yes, Paula, we interacted a bit in a recent event in Germany on Web3 and blockchain. That was very interesting. My startup, ProDecipher, we have been on the market for a year and a half, close to 2 years now. We saw early on the need in the market for transparency and traceability, also coming from the regulatory side. So a lot of regulations coming up, which are actually asking firms, companies to be transparent, to show data about where their product is coming from, not just stick a label on the product saying, yeah, this is such and such, it's sustainable, it's carbon neutral, but really to also prove it. And these kind of regulations, they want validated data. The implementation of such regulations is very, very difficult today. I mean, today, if we speak about the technical term being chain of custody, basically showing the whole journey of a product from the time that it is grown or mined to the time that it comes into the consumer's hands, and then goes on to let me say the recycling, so like kind of cradle to cradle. This is very difficult to implement with a Web2 infrastructure. It is very difficult to implement with, let me say, manual exchange of information, and a lot of the industry is actually relying on this today. So they are, if they want information about where the product is coming from today, it's all about asking your supplier to give you that particular data, and the supplier then asking their supplier, and so on. So there's a lot of kind of manual exchange of information, which is done via certificates being exchanged by emails and data being saved on Excel sheets and things like this. So the trust in the data and the trust in the auditing process is really not there. So, I mean, if you really see a product which is certified or is declared to be something, I, as a consumer, have a tough time in believing that it is really also true. Because what does an auditor do? An auditor goes and kind of checks that everything is being done in the right way, and this is done maybe at best in over a couple of days in a year, what are the chances that all the mistakes can be found? So, so this is why we kind of at ProDecipher we started the journey of looking, how can we build smart digital tools to enable supply chain traceability, to ensure that all the society moves to becoming a more sustainable society, that all the regulations that are coming up and more regulations are coming up, that they are adhered to. And blockchain was the best solution for us because it really allowed for this immutable data to be exchanged, zero knowledge proofs, and things like this, which still help the companies to maintain control, total control of their data, and to really just exchange the data that is required for that particular use case. So it's also all about collaboration along the supply chain. It's not just about exchanging data, but also making supply chains more efficient, maybe cutting out the middlemen where there are no middlemen required, especially true of agriculture industries where food products, they are sold at very expensive prices in supermarkets. But have you ever asked yourself how much of that food product, the price that you're paying, how much of that is going to the farmer who grew that? And usually the answer is really, really shocking. It's usually less than 5%. 5% is probably one of the highest percentages that I've personally seen in all my experience. So yeah, that's kind of the mission we started out with ProDecipher. I mean, myself, coming from an Indian background, living in Switzerland for 15 years. I come from a background in sustainability and environmental regulations. Also kind of learning a lot about blockchain in the last couple of years in the journey through ProDecipher. For me, Switzerland was a very, very nice location as far as sustainability is concerned. So we spoke about, blockchain and innovation and openness, but also sustainability is something that is taken very seriously in Switzerland for me. I am always struck with wonder and awe at how the Swiss zeitgeist works, so to say. So how the Swiss really think about sustainability, the kind of long-term thinking that is part of the society's thinking here. I mean, we have in Switzerland, we spoke about the referenda that keep on happening. I mean, one of the referendum was recently something called the Konzerninitiative, which is basically a corporate accounting initiative referendum, which was asking for companies that are operating in Switzerland, so not even headquartered, but just operating. If you have any kind of office here, you need to show that you are following all kinds of sustainable practices across the world. So that was really something which was very future thinking. It got rejected in the end because the Swiss are also very practical, I think. However, just the fact that people are discussing things like this, which would be a no-no in most countries in the world today, was for me once again a validation that Switzerland is a great place to be as far as sustainability is concerned. I mean, I have a lot of examples for that. The Swiss bio label is more strict than the EU bio label, for example. One of the earliest examples of supply chain traceability is the Max Havelaar Fair Trade Foundation, which is today, it exists in Switzerland, the Max Havelaar Foundation, which worked on traceability many years before blockchain was even introduced. So there's a lot of interest in the society to really think about sustainability. And since we are at the crossroads or the overlap between sustainability and blockchain, I think this is a great place to be.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, definitely. Very good examples. And somebody's clapping. Very good. So, very good. So, now I would like to listen a little bit from everyone. How was your experience with the authorities when opening your company or how is the access? Because something I think we are proud of is we think that the authorities in Switzerland, they're very they have knowledge on what blockchain is, and they're at least more pragmatic on the technologies and open to hear. But I would like to hear from your experiences. Maybe Melissa, if you can tell us a little bit about it. How has been the contact with the local authorities and the companies?
Yeah, thank you. So I might not be the best person to answer these questions here, coming from a more business development and growth angle. But maybe I can say a little bit of things from my personal opinion. I mean, when we talk about Switzerland, I think a lot of the times people think, oh, setting up a Web3 company in Switzerland, they think about the regulation, they think about the legal, and then they think about the tax advantages. But you know, every time when I heard about people talking about this, we will also like to mention to them, like, it's not just about the regulation, legal, and taxes, but it's also about the local talents, and it's about the lively environment atmosphere here in Switzerland when you talk about Web3 and the projects. So really, I think we would like to hear more and more people talking about this in the future, talking about the project, not just about on the legal side and the infrastructure side, but also about what's going on the Web3 projects happening here in Switzerland. And then regarding to really set up the company and then the authority experience, I will definitely happy to hear it from the rest of the panels here.
Thank you, Melissa. Takeshi, what has been your experience? I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, sorry, my mic.
Don't worry. Yes, no worries. So, what has been your a little bit on your experience?
So, what was the question
about
again?
like the contact with the Swiss authorities when explaining your project? How was the understanding, the communication?
Well, so we founded our company last August, and we didn't talk to any conversation with authorities, but I feel like you know, so my backbone is Japan. So I originally started my company in Japan, and I actually talked a lot of authorities in Japan, and I would like to talk about what is the difference between Japan and Switzerland. Is that sounds good?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. So in Japan, when we want to start our crypto business, there are a lot of barriers. Like you cannot open your bank account easily, and of course you cannot open your company easily as well. And a lot of people have a prejudice about crypto, so it's very difficult to have business in Japan. And also tax is more than like 50% if you want to sell your crypto in Japan. So it's like a very unfair thing comparing Switzerland. But and when I come to Swiss and I talk to a lot of people from crypto industry, all of them have deep knowledge about crypto projects. So it's more easy to talk about what are we trying to do in Swiss and what are we trying to build with blockchain. So I think the intelligent level and how can I say knowledge level is very high comparing with Japan and Switzerland. Switzerland is definitely higher than Japan. So that is a good point for me, I think. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. Yeah, that sounds so interesting. But yes, I can understand how this is. And Paul, how well is the Swiss regulatory and fiscal framework suited to support blockchain innovation? I mean, now that you're an economist.
Yeah, I think two valid points were already mentioned, and building on what Melissa said, I would agree. First of all, we are all about innovation, right? And yes, we can get to the regulatory taxation and compliance aspects, but I agree with Melissa. the fruitful environment that an economy such as Switzerland and its regulator needs to build, it needs to start with that thinking. Are we, as a government, do we have an alignment of interest with innovators and entrepreneurs to help them innovate? And I think it starts there, and it is really there. And that is very important, because things like what Melissa and her team are doing is basically giving the ownership back to the hands of creative people, right? So we've all benefited from Spotify or whatever you may see as an example that WEB2 have brought us. But if you speak to artists and musicians, etc., you realize that as consumers, we may have liked everything that happened with Netflix and Spotify, etc., over the last 15 years as we stopped buying vinyl and CDs, for example. But you also realize that the artists haven't really benefited that much. And that's the whole Web2 story, where it's a few oligopolists who have really mastered to economize and monetize the data that we give away to them. I think bringing the ownership back to the hands of the people who are the creative artists, that is the essential part. And therefore an economy or a regulation that also is good, so people can protect their intellectual property and their ownership. I think that's an important part, and the neutrality that Switzerland offers. I mean, on the more practical part, yes, as a CFO of DFINITY Foundation, it's of course also important for us that the taxation and regulatory aspects work well. Leaving details aside, maybe one thing that I would highlight is the nature of the Swiss government system, which is a decentralized model, like federal, cantonal, and commune. To outsiders, sometimes it might look a bit complicated, because people wonder, why do you have two parts in your tax return? Why do you have three levels of authority? Over the years, however, I came to realize that in balance, the system works well. So for example, at DFINITY Foundation, we are in Zurich. That means for most of our taxation matters, we speak with the local cantonal Zurich tax authority. And I can tell you that's quite a different feeling than when I worked in Belgium and you try to call Brussels and try to get an answer from a very big bureaucratic organization. Yes, sometimes it's a bit complicated, that you need to understand what the things that you're dealing with, what is at the local versus cantonal or federal level. But I think the responsiveness of a system that is decentralized is all in all a benefit. And then over time, it also allows these cantons to take some liberal steps, like Zug, for example, has gone ahead and positioned itself as very friendly and liberal to the crypto community in various ways, whether that's for permits or for reasonable taxation treatments. I think that is this fine balance that the Swiss government system leaves to the cantons and to the communes certain liberty, and as long as all of us believe in a liberal, free, functioning market, I think you see the result of that in Switzerland. It's not all ideal. Like when you're a startup, and as we do compensate, for example, in part our employees in tokens, and we all know how volatile the crypto has been in the past 2 years. That brings some challenges in terms of how that is dealt with from a taxation point of view. But also there is a way to speak with authorities. There is a process of taxation rulings, for example, which my US colleagues always find interesting, because they say there is no negotiation at all with the IRS. Here, you can put your proposal forward and be listened to, and your ruling can be accepted or rejected, but at least there is a conversation. So all of that, I think we are kind of interested living already a decentralized government, which, back to what was said before, is probably a reason why a DAO comes natural.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I guess that was basically one of the reasons why the Ethereum foundation came to Switzerland, or was founded here, because it's
Indeed.
it's in the DNA of the country, this decentralization. So it feels like a natural location for this type of technologies. Very quickly, I was reading you've been involved in a very interesting digital certification for real products where tradition meets innovation. You have an Italian project that DFINITY in Origin have been involved. I would like to hear a little bit about this because I love to listen to real projects so people can understand that actually there are applications running and the benefits of it.
Yeah. So in short, let's say you go to Italy and you buy a nice bottle of olive oil and it says made in Italy. And then there might be a code next to that, which is a digital proof that it's made in Italy. And that code may bring you to a website, but how do you know that website is not completely fake? So that's the consumer use case. The organization that we work with is called Federitaly. It is a, say, non-profit consortium of that aligns the interest of everyone who wants to protect the made in Italy truthful realness. And the way we do that, one of the projects that Melissa is also very close to, Origin, which is kind of a sister organization to the companies that Melissa is working for. Origin has been built on the Internet Computer, as the word suggests, to digitize the originality of things. And a product is one such example. So now this bottle of olive oil will have a QR code next to the words made in Italy. If you scan the QR code, you basically then can do the supply chain tracking that one of the speakers mentioned before. It will authenticate that this product has been audited and certified by this organization, Federitaly, certified as truly Italian. And there's some details behind the certification in terms of what the criteria are, both in terms of products, the production chain and delivery, and that all defines when something is accepted as be called made in Italy. So this is a good example of us. We are the kind of invisible hand. We provide the operating system called the Internet Computer. As I said before, its key thing is scalability. So you can imagine to hold the data that I just described, it will be over time much more than just an audit report. It may also contain 3D images when we try to, for example, prove the originality of a Gucci bag. The imagination is endless, but the point is this organization tries to avoid what they call Italic sounding, so things sounding like made in Italy, or but essentially being counterfeiting. And that's one of the examples where things are really brought alive.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing this example. And let's go back to Sanket, because now we are in this traceability, and if you want to add more into this traceability topic, and also I would like to listen a little bit from you. Also, what was your experience developing a blockchain ecosystem in Switzerland and scaling your business?
Sure, I'll start with my experience. I think I can only also kind of authenticate what was said before. I found all the interactions I had in this journey of forming a company, etc., to be very, very efficient throughout my interactions with the authorities, the individual business promotion councils in the cantons, and so on. I always was very pleasantly surprised that I really found faith in the authorities. I think what also Paul was saying before, that I could really go to the investment promotion director in Zug and discuss stuff about formation of a company. And it wasn't like you were walking into a government office which is not really interested and kind of understaffed and stuff like this, which are things that many countries in the world suffer from. Very friendly people. You really had a face to speak to discuss stuff. So this was always my experience. I mean, look at Zug. It's a great example, I think, of a kind of a large, important player in the crypto blockchain space worldwide. However, I mean, if you go visit Zug, I'm sure a lot of you have visited Zug. It's a small little town. You really see also the kind of the traditional Swiss culture there. You go to the government office. They're really small and friendly and things like this. So very, very approachable. And I really love that. And at the same time, being very, very practical and giving practical tips. So yeah, overall, very good experience. I think also mentioned before, I found the whole ecosystem really helps a lot. So, I mean, the advantage of having quite a few layer ones situated here in Switzerland, that's it's a big advantage, I think, for us.
Sanket, I think we are having troubles with the sound. Can you listen to me? Well, we continue. But yes, Sanket, do we have you back? No. But I want to go back. Yes, we have, Zug obviously has been very active in the environment, the crypto valley, but it's not the only city, not the only canton. I mean, we have Zurich. This is also what it makes it attractive. You have different locations. You have the French side, you have in Geneva, Neuchâtel, Lugano, very active as well. In Italy, beautiful city. And Sanket, we have you back?
Oh yes, I
Okay,
think
perfect.
my earpods somehow lost the connection.
Okay, so
Yes.
we have you back.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So I don't know how much I spoke before I
We were
found out.
talking how approachable was the experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and then I was mentioning that having quite a few layer ones around in Switzerland really helps a lot for us at ProDecipher. It really also helped a lot to find the right partner to build our dApps on. And then there are experts around to make the development very easy. There are experts around to speak about ICOs and STOs and so on. So that really helps. So far, a very nice experience. I mean, even though I was living in Switzerland when I founded the company, I am really grateful that I was living in Switzerland. And if you were to ask me, where would you found the company if I was living elsewhere, probably Switzerland would be pretty high up or maybe even top of that list. So yeah, that's been my experience. Maybe to go back, just to add one thing to that thing about traceability. Once again, for sustainability, the Swiss zeitgeist is something which is also very helpful and very modern in that sense. I also would like to see more and more the public institutions in Switzerland to take a leading role in blockchain adoption, that also in the public space, blockchain applications become real. Paul was also mentioning before about Zug, where you can now pay your taxes with crypto, for example, things like this, that also in the public institutions, blockchain, Web3 becomes kind of part of the story. To combine that with sustainability, there was also the discussion of a carbon tax, for example, for all companies that operate through Switzerland. And we know that Switzerland has some of the largest commodity traders in the world sitting in the Geneva area and the Zug area. And a lot of the commodity exchange actually happens through Switzerland. Switzerland doesn't have any access to the sea, container shipping, and so on. However, a lot of the contracts go through Switzerland, and the Swiss Parliament has been discussing things like, all of these transactions that are happening, if they can be kind of taxed for carbon that they are releasing into the environment, for example, all of that commodity flow, that could have a huge impact on the worldwide, say, thrust to sustainability. And things like this, they can be very well implemented on a Web3 infrastructure, because you really need that traceability to be able to calculate that carbon tax in a trustful way, to force companies to become more sustainable, to offer more sustainable products in the market. So Switzerland can play a big role there, and I would like to see more and more of a thrust there as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for your inputs, and to everyone. I think we are running out of time. Valeria, if maybe do we have a couple of seconds just so that everybody can say last words? So who wants to say something, or shall we?
Maybe one thing. This is all very positive. If I have any last thought, I would say, let us not rest on our laurels. And I often especially say this to the young generation. This is a great place. I have 2 adult children. One could go to ETH and other law school. But I keep saying, do not rest on your laurels, because I've also spent a lot of time of my career in India, for example. And I sometimes remind people there is probably as many people graduating from the Institute of Technology of Bangalore, one city, than the entire Switzerland. So we should also be reminded there is a lot of people in the less privileged worlds that are generating every day many, many talented young people. And we are living in a global economy, and we shouldn't forget that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would like to say a few words. Just wanting to go back to the topics about the metaverse. I mean, it's very interesting because, as someone is building a metaverse project, we got many questions from people because, I think everyone remember back in 2021, when Facebook renamed, there's such a hype happening in the market. And then 2 years later, it seems it's being super quiet. And then instead of a lot of things going on, we see on the news that there are many companies actually dropping the metaverse business. So we get a lot of doubt, and then it looks like the metaverse has never really begun, and it seems it's now over. So I want to really encourage maybe the audience or whoever is listening here to think about the metaverse really not just as one product, a product that any giant company own. And in fact, the whole thing about metaverse is open decentralizations. And then I think that recently the whole cases, the growth of ChatGPT has shown a very good examples. We've been through many cycles of AI, see many failures, and then now we see perfect use cases that benefit everyone. And then we realize, AI is not dead. I mean, AI is real. So I think in the future, we really will see something happening in the metaverse. And then when that happens, definitely we want to see Switzerland be really crucial in this role. And then maybe in the future, we'll also see many companies here in Switzerland, not only registering in Switzerland, but also have their presence in the metaverse.
Thank you. Very, very important points. So now, Valeria, we go back to you, unless Takashi wants to say something.
Yeah, thanks for. So thanks to Toshi and everyone to inviting me. And one thing to add on, I'm really recommend to join UZH Summerschool for next time. So maybe my friends will be the speaker on the next summer school. So let's meet up there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Paola. And thank you very much to Melissa, Paul, Takashi, and Sanket for the very insightful discussion. We invite you to check the chat for more information on the speakers project as well as our contact details. And we wish everybody a good continuation of the week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.